I thought I'd just say a little bit about Love Never Dies and how it came about. It was really because I felt two things. One, I had a whole lot of music I felt that I would still like to write about the Phantom and Christine and to take their story further. But also, from my point of view, I wanted a kind of closure on the whole Phantom saga because it had become so big in my life with the original Phantom of the Opera that I felt that, in a way, if I could take their story further and sort of literally let my romantic side outpour, that would be almost like closing the door on that, and that I could then move on and do other things. And it started with me talking to Freddie Forsyth, who wrote books like The Day of the Jackal, as I'm sure you know, The Odessa File, which I did the score for the movie, by the way. And I talked to him about it, and he came up with a novella called The Phantom of Manhattan, because he thought that it would be a great idea to make America the setting, as that would be a place that the Phantom could possibly have escaped to. And he then came up with the idea, I can't remember whether it was him or I actually, but it was that he could have disappeared into the extremely exotic and somewhat murky world of Coney Island, which of course was, in a way, Freud described it as one of the main reasons for going to America. I mean, it was an extraordinary, extraordinary place. Sadly, there's only a little bit of it left now, but it must have been something I'd have really loved to have seen. Anyway, that book happened. I then did move on to do a couple of other things. I did a kind of very gritty musical called The Beautiful Game about Northern Ireland and the troubles there. And then I sort of turned back to feeling that I really did want to really close the Phantom saga. And I talked to Ben Elton, who wrote the script of The Beautiful Game and did the lyrics too. And he came up with the story somewhat based on Freddie's. And I thought, yes, that's sort of it. And I set to work with it with Glenn Slater, who went on to write the lyrics of School of Rock with me, a rather different musical. We were full of confidence. So we had a fantastic team, and it really looked as though it was going to really, really work. We had Sierra Boggis and we had Ramin Karimou, and it was all set to be, I think, a great production with it all going very smoothly. And then something happened. I got cancer. And it was prostate cancer. I'm completely cured of it, but there were a few complications, and the show should have been cancelled, really, because I wasn't really well enough to come back to it. But musicals are such a juggernaut that by that time we'd done a workshop that had worked very well. It was sort of on the path down the hill, as it were, and like a juggernaut, it could not be stopped. And so I wasn't really able to, in many ways, bring my best to it. And when it came on, it was just one of those things where nothing really fused. I mean, there was moments of it that were very good, I think. But despite the fact that there were great talents involved, it was one of those things that Hal Prince always said, that a production's got to be right for the material, and brilliant people involved, all of them who've done fantastic work, but it just didn't gel. And it was saved by what you were about to see, which was a production that was done in Australia, designed by Gabriella Tyler-Sova, who I think is one of the great designers of our time, and who is going to design my Cinderella, and directed by Simon Phillips. And this production, which I did do some work on, got it right, I think, absolutely right. And that's it went so well, actually, particularly critically, that it was filmed, and that was the reason. The film of it was what set it back on a track again, to be perhaps rethought, re-examined. In a way, I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but I think it's possibly a little bit more sophisticated as a score than the original Phantom. I think it contains some of the music that I'm really most proud of. Some of the songs I think are really, really, in my romantic mode. I think they're as far as I could really go. And in fact, I mean, I still, when it went to America because of this film, I still was tinkering around with it. I rewrote The Beauty Underneath, which you can hear in the finished form that it went to America on the album that we made of the production in 2018. But it's not quite right in the film version that you'll see, but everything else I'm really, really proud of, and I'm longing for it to return to America again, which it will do. The tour was very successful. I mean, to see it in the Pantages was quite something, because the Pantages was such a wonderful theatre for it. It was like it was in Coney Island. Of course, Pantages is in Los Angeles. It's supposed to be opening in Toronto at Christmas, but I've just heard that Toronto is not reopening its theatres till January, so I guess it will go to Toronto, but I don't quite know when and how. Look, I hope you enjoy it. It's a piece that I am personally very attached to, and I have a huge involvement with it. It's like, for me, the whole story of Phantom taken on another way, the relationship between Christine and Phantom, and of course Raoul examined again, but it closed it, and it means now that it meant to me that I was able to move on. And I did move on, and I don't think you can really compare School of Rock with Love Never Dies. So I was able to get back to my other side. Anyway, enjoy it.